There I am. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Boston Sports Summit. I am your host, Tim Barnett. We are presented by the Grid Network. This show brings you all four Boston sports teams, totally unfiltered, totally my opinion. So it's going to be a fun one. We got the Patriots, the Red Sox. We got the Patriots, Celtics, and the Bruins. And the Patriots had a big-time victory on Sunday, but there were a lot of holes to fill with that, on top of the fact that, hey, we had the trade deadline on Tuesday. And what a trade deadline it was for New England, because that is where we're going to start today. We're going to start with the trade deadline, something that has really become more prevalent in the NFL in recent years. Again, the trade deadline in football has never really been a big public spectacle. Obviously, when it comes down to it, you have the Major League Baseball trade deadline is number one by and far, no questions about it. Then you have MLB or NBA, NHL. Sometimes NBA is bigger, sometimes the NHL is bigger. Those go back and forth. And then just nothing. NFL trade deadline. Like, that's just how it's always been. But coming into this trade deadline on Tuesday, the Patriots had an opportunity to expand their roster. They had an opportunity to either acquire a big-name veteran, a guy several players who are finishing up their contracts, gonna be pure rentals, but then giving up the appropriate draft picks and or players to go along with that. Some would argue that it costs too much, and I don't disagree with that. Whereas you also have guys that were traded that still have team control, they're a little bit more expensive, and they're younger, which will cost a lot more. And the Patriots were in a prime spot to make a deal. We're 7-2. I've stated on this show that the Patriots needed running back depth at bare minimum. They needed an edge rusher, and they needed a defensive back, corner or safety or both. It could have been done. It could have been had. But what the Patriots actually did was they traded away Keon White and Kyle Duggar last week for a couple of day 3 late rounders. Now, the thing that bothers me about that is you could argue that the Patriots were sellers at the trade deadline rather than buyers for a team that is 7-2, having an unbelievable season by their second-year quarterback and primed to make a deep playoff run, especially with their schedule playing out the way it is, as the easiest schedule of all time. Why not make some moves? Why not do something, right? So the question that, or not the question, I should say, but here on the show, I like to stay consistent, because what good is it if I flip-flop my takes back and forth, just this, that, and the other. It's not good. It doesn't make for good, podcasts. It doesn't make for you to trust me. So I want to and need to stay consistent. Going into this year, when Mike Vrabel got hired, I have stated since day one that part of him being hired was he brought in his guys. He brought in John Stryker and Ryan Cowden. Okay? Those were his guys. And my philosophy, my thought behind that was Elliott Wolf, he's the figurehead right now because the Crafts hate going through the Rooney Rule. Why, I don't know. I mean, you could call it however you want. it just all makes sense, right? That they didn't need to do the Rooney Rule when they hired Gerard Mayo. They obviously hired from within, which is they didn't do it with hiring Elliott Wolf last year, so on. And then you could tell it was all half-assed when they did it this year when they hired Mike Vrabel. So the thing about that is I was stating that Mike Vrabel is in charge. Mike Vrabel is in charge of the drafting. Mike Vrabel is in charge of the free agency. The players that he's brought into the organization are Vrabel guys. So that's kind of where I was standing. So when I look at this trade deadline, I know a lot of people want to sit there and yell at Elliott Wolf that once again, Elliott Wolf is a bum. He's sitting on his ass. He's not doing a damn thing. He didn't hit the snooze alarm in time. And so that's kind of where I disagree. I came out and I think that it was Mike Vrabel and his staff, his guys, Stryker and Cowden, that didn't go through with any of the trades that could have been out there. All right. So that's where I want to start with this piece. And you got a couple of comments right off the bat. Friend of the show, Pete Collins, thought for sure the Pats would add a depth piece. They're winning, but thin in spots. Absolutely. And then it feels like the front office didn't want to mess with the locker room. They know they're playing and knows they're playing with house money. And yeah, the Gonzalez May extensions are already on minds of RKK. Absolutely. And then I think we all know Wolf is not in control of the team. Of course. And Pete, I agree with you. Like it's to see all the talk about Wolf on Twitter on Tuesday and Wednesday today that I disagreed with it. I didn't think it was right because Wolf is not the guy. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this year, by the start of next, football season, not August, September, but right around the draft time, Wolf, Groh, all those former Bill guys are out of here. Because then it's going to truly be Mike Vrabel's team. So my first question is, was them not making a trade yesterday the right thing to do? And the way I look at that is I say absolutely not. Because, as friend of the show, Pete mentioned, we're thin in spots, okay? I said we needed a corner or a safety or both. We needed an edge guy. When it comes to the edge, we're 18th in pressures, 19th in sacks. Not great numbers, not horrible, but not great either. I know Chason has been playing out of his mind recently, which is great to see. Love it. But Harold Landry's kind of fallen off a little bit, and they're getting after it, but they're not getting home. Now, Kyrus Tonga, Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, D tackles are perfect. Like, they are set. We are good. We probably have the best D tackles in the league right now. Milton Williams is absolutely living up to his contract. But when you have situations like Christian Gonzalez going down against the Saints, both Carlton Davis and Marcus Jones went down for a period of time. All three of them came back. All three of them said they're fine. They're good to go. They keep playing, which is great. That's good. But is it enough? Is it enough with these guys? Because that is something where, again, God forbid one of them goes down. We have Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis, and Marcus Jones, 1, 2, 3. Who are our backups? And are they going to be, 3/4 of what those guys were or are? Not to mention, we had a 3-headed monster running back room with Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson, and Travion Henderson. Terrell Jennings scoring a touchdown was nice on Sunday, but with Antonio Gibson gone, and now Ramondre Stevenson was gone from Sunday's game, where's that stability? And yes, I have come on this show and also said too that running backs are a dime a dozen. But if you have an opportunity to go out and get a solid running back, whether it's a good depth piece or a guy like Breece Hall, and I'll talk about the Jets, Titans, and Dolphins all in a minute and how they wouldn't want to trade with us. I get it. I'm just saying, you have Breece Hall available, a hell of a running back, and you could get him for a third-round pick. Why wouldn't you? Then you really solidified your running back room for the year. And so that's kind of where I don't agree with the fact that they didn't make a move. And, you have Kayshon Boutte that just left with a grade 1 hamstring. Thank God. Wasn't a bad one. But you had Jacoby Myers traded for, what, a 4th and a 6th? 4th and a 5th to Jacksonville? Now, I also said that I would not want to pursue Jacoby Myers because we've already been there, done that. He's got great hands, he's always catching the ball whenever it's thrown to him, which is great. It's something you need out of a wide receiver. But at the same time, I thought our wide receiver group was good. I thought we were fine. And the fact that Boutte went out, it's not like Mac Hollins really picked it up. It's not like Pop Douglas really picked it up. Now, that's also because Drake May, had a little malfunction after his fumble right before the halftime, and it threw off the entire second half. But maybe it wouldn't have been a bad idea to have Jacoby Myers in there. For that price, why not? And so the thing about this team is we went out and we made a lot of free agent acquisitions, okay? We are trying to rebuild, obviously. Right now, we are playing with house money. And that's the beauty of this season, is that we're 7-2 with a second-year quarterback who is playing out of his mind right now. And it's fantastic to see. That's the reason why we're 7-2. And as I've come on here before, and I'll keep using that phrase, but I keep saying it, time after time after time. When you look at our draft history, it sucks. We have 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys from the last 4 drafts, obviously not including 2025, from 21 to 24. We have 10 guys remaining. I stated that last week. Here's the graphic from last week talking about who's left. And it's crazy to me that we have been that bad. Now, of course, we're not going to hit on every single pick. We're not going to go rounds 1 through 7 and be perfect on every single one. I'm not expecting that. But through 4 drafts and 10 guys are the only ones remaining on this roster is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So we do need to rebuild through the draft. That is a big to-do with this team. And getting rid of a first, second, third round pick, you are really going to have to sell. You're going to have to sell me on the player. Now, with the Jets and talking about Breece Hall for a third round pick, with our running back situation, I would do it in a heartbeat. because Breece Hall is still in his 20s. He's not on the bad side of 30. He's good. He's chilling. He's ready to go. So, that's kind of where I sit with that. Of course, we need to keep our draft picks. We need to go out, build through the draft. And to go after a guy like Trey Hendrickson and give up a first-round pick for a guy who's a true rental and is about to be on the wrong side of 30, I wouldn't do that. If you want to trade a fifth, a sixth, and then next year's fourth for him, and obviously I'm not saying that was a possibility, I'm just throwing that out there, then of course, I'd do that in a heartbeat. Why wouldn't you? He's a true rental. He's going to be owed $10 million the rest of this year on top of wanting a massive contract in both length and amount. So is it really worth it? But that's kind of where right now the Patriots have 11 picks in the 2026 NFL draft. We have a first, second, third, 2 fourths, a fifth, 4 sixths, and 2 sevenths. Now, going back to my point of trading a third-round pick for Breece Hall, it's not like we've hit the nail on the head on every second or third-round pick. And then, how many? And then if we're gonna, so the thing about it is, as I said, what we're trading for is known NFL commodities, right? That's the thing. The whole thing that is kind of getting under my skin is that everyone's saying it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. We have locker room. Pete mentioned it. We have locker room concerns. We want to make sure we're getting the right guys for this team and that we're not stepping on anyone's toes. That, you want to talk about the past. You want to look at the Washington Commanders. I almost said Redskins. Who cares? The Washington Commanders of last year. They went for it. They traded for Marshawn Lattimore, who played 2 games in the regular season, wasn't great in the wild card, had a good divisional round, and then sucked in the NFC Championship game. But you had Jaden Daniels in his rookie year make it all the way to the NFC Championship game. And people want to say, yeah, but look at them now. They traded a 5th rounder for Terry McLaurin. They've only got 3 picks in next year's draft because they traded for not Terry McLaurin. They traded for Deebo Samuel. They traded for Laramie Tunsil, a good left tackle. But they keep thinking that, because they decided to go for it and they burned through all their draft picks, that's the reason why they suck right now. But a couple of things. Number one, they made the NFC Championship game. If we traded away a majority, not all, but a majority of our mid-round picks, a third rounder all the way to the 7th, and we got a couple of good depth pieces, we got maybe a decent splash at one of the key positions of need, and we made it to the AFC Championship game in Drake May's second year, wouldn't you call that a success? Isn't that the whole point of this? Is to prepare this team to make it through November, December, and even January and win football games? Because that's what I thought we were doing, is winning football games. And right now, you're sitting with the best record in the NFL in prime position to go and make a deep run and go against the Buffalo Bills, go against the Kansas City Chiefs, go against, the Indianapolis Colts, right? Like, that's what this is all about. And going back to our previous drafts, it's not like we've been hitting on guys second, third, fourth, fifth round, fifth, sixth, seventh. It's not like we've been knocking those out of the park. Okay, yeah, we got Kayshon Boutte late. We got Pop Douglas late. Great. But what else have we got? What else have we been getting? Have we been getting guys like City Shows? Have we been getting guys like Chasen Hines, Sam Roberts in the 6th round? Joe Milton in the 6th round. Javon Baker in the 4th round. Okay? It's not like these guys in these draft picks are valuable where you know what you're getting, because you don't, especially those day 3 picks. Day 2 is a toss-up, probably on the not going to play side, but still has a massive potential to play and be a successful contributor. Day 3 is a friggin' crapshoot. Now, say what you want. Yeah, Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, 6th, 7th round picks, respectively. But is it real? Are you going to find those guys in every single draft? Hate to break it to you, but you're not. You're just not. So that's kind of where I look at this. And yeah, I was upset. I was upset that we didn't do anything, because it was a prime opportunity. The Colts went out and got Sauce Gardner. The Jaguars got Jacoby Myers. You had teams in the AFC, in the conference, go out and get better. And what did you do? You sold off Keion White, which, again, there have been a few things that between his play and between his, maybe a locker room situation, I don't know. Attitude, no idea. Just stuff that's been thrown around. That's why they traded him. On top of the fact he traded Kyle Duggar, who we've already had Craig Woodson go out this year. And Kyle Duggar is no great, passing safety. He's no free safety by any stretch of the imagination. It is not a great cover guy. But at least he was a body. At least he was a depth piece that knew the game and knew how to play and had his style, which, if used right, can work, at least decent amount of the time. And trust me, I'm no Kyle Duggar guy. Like, I've been wanting to kind of get rid of him for a minute. And I thought Jabril Peppers was better than him this preseason. Looks like there were 2 guys I was wrong this preseason about. But going back to some comments, Pete comments, I 100% agree. I think Wolf is gone this offseason. I think he's a pure transitional piece. Absolutely. And I wouldn't be shocked, too, if they use Cowden, if they kind of do the same thing with Cowden that they did with Wolf. He's been a part of the organization. They could just easily slide him on up and take over, maybe not even give him the GM role. And then Mikey Two Guns, what's up, my guy? We got Jerry Rice's son coming to the rescue. Woohoo. Yeah, man. Jerry Rice's youngest son. Let's go. I bet he's gonna save the day for us. I hate getting rid of the depth that Duggar and White provided. And then he, of course, corrects himself, Duggar. Yeah. And White, from what I've seen from Keion White this year, he didn't jump off the screen like he looked like he has in the past. His first year here, Keion White, I thought, was phenomenal. But then ever since, it's like everyone got the film on White and knew how to get him and knew kind of what his strengths were. And, and so that's kind of why he kind of fell off favor with me. And with Kyle Duggar, yeah, as I said, I thought Kyle Duggar should have been at least a depth piece. He should be suited up, ready to go in case. Break glass in case of emergency, and that's Kyle Duggar, right? Like, that's what Kyle Duggar should have been with this team. And listen, I hope they go off. I hope they, have success to the teams that they got traded to. So it's not that, big of a deal. But again, just to have an extra body that has played before, that is a known commodity, know what you have with him, and you should know how to use him. Whether or not he fits your scheme, that's a whole different thing. But, with the fact that we missed a perfect opportunity to add depth down the stretch in a season where, God forbid, or, thankfully, God has looked down on us and is like, you guys are good with injuries this year. Washington, prime example. Everyone, like I said earlier, people are saying that, Washington trained away all these guys. That's why they suck, or picks. That's why they suck. No, it's because Jaden Daniels has been hurt on multiple occasions this year. He just dislocated his elbow on Sunday night. So it has nothing to do with them going for it all, and they went for it all. Part of it is because, they traded for Deebo Samuel, who's coming off injuries over in San Francisco. They didn't sign Terry McLaurin until very late in the preseason, and then he missed a chunk of time. Jaden Daniels has been hurt on multiple occasions this year. When you don't have your quarterback, you're not going to win football games. Who's to say that this isn't going to be our time to shine? We have the easiest schedule of all time. We're 7-2. We are making inroads of the last couple of games. Yeah. Have we fallen off? Yes, but we've still won. Now is the time to invest because, as I said with the Red Sox, back right before the playoffs, we don't know if Drake May is going to throw 75% next year, the year after that. With the way he runs around, his body's been taking a lot of hits. And that's kind of where it's going to happen. Wear and tear is a real thing. It's not like these guys are small dudes that are hitting them. They are massive. They are freight trucks hitting Drake May and annihilating him. And luckily, May has learned to get down. His sliding has been good and bad. He's gotten out of bounds at times, but he's still taking unnecessary hits, and partially due to our offensive line, which has not lived up to the hype recently. So the fact that we didn't bolster our depth at key positions on defense and at running back, at least, I am nervous. I am 100% nervous that things are going to be different. Or not different, I shouldn't say that. I'm 100% nervous that, God forbid, anything were to happen, that's when the rails are going to fall off with this team. Otherwise, I love where we're at, baby. Number two in the AFC. Mikey Two Guns responds, felt like White turned into malcontent when everything wasn't going his way. Yeah, I think that was definitely part of it. I'm shocked no one signed. I know, no one signed Stephon Gilmore. No one signed Asante Samuel's kid, even though he just had spinal surgery, I think. And I think he's getting a couple of tryouts coming up. So at least for Asante Samuel Jr., he's got some potential. He's still 25, 26 years old, coming off major surgery, but nonetheless. So, all right. Now that's the whole trade deadline piece. Something that just, again, I wish they could have seen their opportunity. Rather than looking at, hey, we still have time. We still have making, that Drake May can only go up from here, that blah, 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 blah. We're going to get better. We're going to get younger, this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, that's great and all, but you had a chance now. You had a chance to win now. And so I wish they just at least invested a little bit, because 4 6th-round picks, the hell are you going to do with those? Honestly, not 4. That's stupid. All right. So now going to the game that was played on Sunday, I predicted that it was going to be a tight game, but that the Patriots were going to have a 27-10 lead. Atlanta was going to make a late comeback and get as far as 27-17. Obviously, what actually happened was the Patriots snuck away with a win, because the guy I thought that beat out our current kicker in the preseason, Parker Romo, shanked the game-tying point after attempt. And as soon as he missed it, I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to start saying that Andy Borregales won the preseason kicking competition, right? Because that was just too damn funny. Like, you could not have scripted that. Just how Drake London was absolutely going off, having a 3-touchdown game, owning our DBs, our secondary. But then it all came down to the kicker just to tie the damn game. And he shanked it. And say what you want about Drake May crapping his pants the entire second half of the game, he came through in that final drive. He came through in that final drive, being able to hit Hunter Henry in the flat to get that huge, huge first down to seal the victory, because that was a necessary drive. And something that I feel like either it's a lot of my teams or it's just teams in general, when they have that drive that is supposed to seal the game, the other team scores, they tied it, or they're down 3-2-1, they're down a score, and it's just beyond the 2-minute warning. You need to get a first down here, and getting a first down will seal the game. I feel like a lot of teams now, and again, I haven't done the stats on it, I'm just talking from what I've seen. It just feels like a lot of these teams don't get that necessary first down, and it gives the other team the opportunity, and whether they succeed or fail that's totally up to them. But it's nice to have seen us on a 3rd and short hit Hunter Henry in the flat, wide open, in a situation that we desperately needed that first down in order to win this game. And so glad to see it happen. Glad that they did that. But of course, this game just solidifies the fact that the Patriots are back. And they're back because teams are alleging that we cheated. Hey, cheers, everybody. We're cheaters again. That means we are back, baby. Oh, man. How stupid is that? The botch snap that set up Atlanta to have, have Michael Penix throw the ball on the opposite side of the running back on the ground, and obviously caused a penalty, loss of down, and a loss of yards. Raheem Morris and the center talk about, hey, the Patriots clapped. The Patriots clapped. That's why I did what I did. And I've watched that replay 100 times. I have. Because I'm watching every single guy on the line within 5 yards. And not a single one of them has their hands up in a situation where they're clapping. They're clapping, ready to go. And then you have people saying, oh, okay, well, it's Jalen Hawkins, the safety. You see him flailing his arms, going crazy, and he brings his hands like that. He's also 12 to 14 yards away in a stadium that seats 65,000. And you're telling me on that exact down and distance that every single fan shut up like it was friggin' COVID and there was not a soul in the audience? Come on. Like, spare me on this. And then, of course, the next day, Raheem Morris kind of walks it back, saying it was nice gamesmanship and, this, that, and the other. The Patriots were, thinking ahead, and all well and true, all it would have been is a penalty on us. There's no cheating. There's no nothing. And I did kind of like the way Mike Vrabel kind of left it open, kind of like aloof in that way, kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's not up to me, like whatever. Because again, it goes back to Red Auerbach, turning off the AC in the old garden. It goes back to Bill Belichick spying on Tony Dungy and the Colts, and having cameras in the locker rooms and all that dumb stuff. Like, which is just, it's gamesmanship. If you're that afraid to come into Gillette Stadium, that's just another thing you have to worry about as the opponent. And that's why we need to have as many home games, including postseason home games, as possible. Because if people are thinking that along with their game plan, along with, what they want to do in order to win the game, that's just an extra layer that they have to get over. And that's why I think it's hilarious. I never really gave too much stock into it. And, there are some people out there who are like, we're not cheating. I mean, who cares? It's friggin' clapping. They're trying to get the snap off. And not for nothing, I think that the center just effed up and that it was all, he just used us as an excuse. He used us in the defense to say, they clapped. That's what I heard, rather than I thought Penix clapped, but it must have been the defense. Whatever. It was honestly really dumb, but just it's so dumb to the point where I'm like, we're back, baby. We're 7-2. We're atop the AFC with the Colts, with the Steelers, with the Broncos. So we're back. We're cheaters again, guys. That's right. Here we go. Let's get it. Clip and send to social media. Because it's just, oh my gosh, how dumb. How dumb is that? I don't know. Still fun nonetheless. But getting into the game day grades, starting off with the letter A's. I gave it to the rushing defense and Demario Douglas. So Demario Douglas did something for the first time in his career that shocked the hell out of me, that it was the first time. But he amassed 100 yards receiving. So good for him. He hit 100 yards first time, 4 receptions, 6 targets, 100 yards, 1 touchdown. Great for him. He was great in this game. Really came through when we needed him. Then rushing defense. You know what? Let's keep the streak alive, boys. Let's keep going, because to hold Bijan Robinson to under 50 rush yards is huge. Now, part of that too is Atlanta didn't feed Robinson enough. You want to go back to previous games, Buffalo didn't feed Cook enough. You had Cleveland didn't feed Judkins enough, because they would have amassed 50 yards. You look at some of their numbers, they're 46, 47, 48, 49 yards. If they get 1 extra carry, that would have put them over 50. But as I said before, our defensive tackles, I think, are the best part of our defense and the best in the NFL. With the way they've been playing, not only getting after the quarterback, disrupting the quarterback up the middle, Khyiris Tonga being the stud 2-gap, D tackle that he is. I think that he's the whole defensive line in terms of the rush defense has been great. And let's keep it going this week. You got an injured Bucky Irving. Not sure if he's going to play. You got Rashad White, that he's the backup. I think he can hold the starters to under 50 yards again. So, going from A to B, above average game, gave Stephon Diggs, Travion Henderson, and Kayvon Chason. Now, with Stephon Diggs, obviously he had a great game. He had that key catch on 3rd and 12 that gave us the first down, and then had that awesome touchdown where he backtracked, made a man miss, got right around, leapt for the end zone, and scored the touchdown, which was awesome. You can't beat that, right? And that's when Drake May was playing like Drake May, just lasering it, hitting guys wide open, getting guys open with his throws. A lot of fun. Then I had Travion Henderson. Now, his stats don't necessarily jump off at you, but I thought he had a pretty good game on Sunday because 14 carries for 55 yards, just a tick under 4 yards a carry, and then 4 catches on 6 targets for 32 yards. So his numbers don't jump off, but having this be his first true game as the number 1 running back on this team, I thought he was good. I thought, he did his job. And then Terrell Jennings came in, got the touchdown, which is great. But I liked what I saw from Travion. Not true number 1 yet. But again, I think there is growth and potential with this guy where he can be a number 1. It's just going to take some time. And then Kayvon Chason. I've loved what I've seen. 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack. He's just getting after it. It's hard. Yeah, I know he's not getting home all the time. I don't expect him to. I don't expect him to have a 5-sack game like Myles Garrett. But he is showing off like he was a former first-round pick. And that's what I want to see from him. And that's what I feel like I have seen from him. So, very happy about that. Now for C's. Drake May and Carlton Davis. And I know I've been hard on Carlton Davis all year. I've been hard because he's making $20 million. He's a $20 million man. So I think it's fair, to be hard on him as the number 2 guy. But when you have the option to throw to Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis, or Marcus Jones this year, right now you're looking to throw at Carlton Davis. Like that's just the way it is. And I did like the fact, I thought this is what I liked about his game. He had the 2nd most tackles on the team with 6, which means he's getting his hands dirty. He's not afraid to get in the scrub and just hit a guy, which for someone like Davis, most defensive backs who end up getting paid, you don't necessarily see that a lot. So I like that. And he had 1 pass breakup. So he got after it. Yes, that touchdown to Drake London, he was right there on. But I thought what Atlanta did with how they were able to adjust Drake London, I'm going to talk about this when I give out the grades for D. But, they positioned London in order to get a favorable matchup. And they did it very well, by the way. And then for Drake May, I wanted to give him a D because I didn't think his game was really that good. But I did forget he was very good in the first half, helping us jump out to a 21-7 lead, in the first half. If it wasn't for that fumble near the end of the half, I think Drake May would have just been the same dude. He would have been rocking. I think we would have blown the Falcons out. We would have blown the Falcons out like we shot them out of a cannon during the Revolutionary War. That's how this game could have gone had Drake May not fumbled the ball. But Atlanta is a stout defense. As I've said, they have a number 1 pass defense in terms of yards per game. And it's not just because of the secondary. A lot of people want to attribute the lack of pass yards per game to the secondary. And while that's true, you also have to understand it starts in the trenches. If you get a quarterback who is not mobile and you are coming right up the middle, they can't step up into the pocket and have to roll out, it's going to be harder for that quarterback. Also, if you have a quarterback, a young kid like Drake May, and you hit him enough, you sack him enough, it's going to throw him off. And that's exactly what happened in this game. The defensive line for the Falcons played in such a way that they were just as big, if not bigger, than the Falcons secondary in this game. And so while Drake May started off hot, got us out to a 21-7 lead, that fumble right before the half changed everything. And then he had an interception, obviously gave up that fumble, and then had another fumble that he did fall on. It looked like he tried to do too much in this game. At times. And at least it's not all the time. And that's the beauty of this. And that's why I gave him a C. Because I thought while the second half was rough and that our offense stopped clicking almost instantly after that first fumble, I thought Drake May still had plenty of great moments, including, as I mentioned earlier, that throw into the flat to Hunter Henry, hits him right in the hands, didn't overthink it, stepped back, saw him get open, bang, hit him beautifully, right where it needed to go. And that's what sealed the game for us. So while it wasn't a terrible game from May, it was definitely not one of his previous games where he's lit it up before. And so now moving on to the D grades, I gave it to Marcus Jones and our offensive line. So with Marcus Jones, as I mentioned, the way that the Falcons were able to shift Drake London around to pair him up on Marcus Jones, pair him up on Carlton Davis rather than Christian Gonzalez, it was huge. Because they would shift him, they would stack him, and all of a sudden, while Gonzalez was on London initially, because London was stacked on top of somebody else, that all of a sudden it changed the way the Patriots defenders and secondary got man-to-man, which left Drake London, who's 6'4", on 5'8" Marcus Jones. Now, I'm not saying that Marcus Jones was absolutely horrendous, that he sucked, it was awful, he doesn't deserve to be on this team, he doesn't deserve to be on this field. No, that's not what I'm saying. That would be stupid to say. What I am saying is that when you have a 5-foot guy going against a 6'4" guy, 9.999 times out of 10, the 6'4" guy is going to win. And that's exactly what happened. Because 2 of those touchdowns came against Marcus Jones. And I give Jones credit. He tried. But when it comes to certain things, this being one of them, yeah, dude, you're going to lose. And when I was watching Ted Johnson kind of break it down and talk about how the shifting and the stack and they switched, it did kind of spark a thought in me. Just, you wonder what they're going to be teaching the guys coming up. Because I thought the way it was, they shouldn't have switched off like they did. And I get why. But it was just one of those things where, okay, maybe next time when they see this, they're not going to switch. They're going to still have Gonzalez and, on London or so on and so forth. You know what I'm talking about, right? So that's why I think that's why I still gave Marcus Jones a D. I think he's still a great player. I think he's been having a hell of a season, and I still think he's having a hell of a season. Just a tough game. And when you get matched 5'8" against a 6'4" guy, Good luck. So then I had offensive line because Drake May has now become the second most sacked quarterback in the NFL with 34 sacks. You had back-to-back games with multiple sacks against Drake May. Going against Cleveland with the 5-sack game, coming here with Atlanta, multiple sacks against May. So you just can't be having that. I loved Will Campbell's hustle. I mean, I really don't know if Will Campbell is having a bad season. Because as it stands right now, Will Campbell's our best offensive lineman, period. Michael Wenu might be the guy I'm looking to trade this offseason because he has looked like trash. And he's been stiff as a board, not being able to handle stunts, can't move laterally, which is why he's in the guard position, but you still have to move. So the offensive line is getting Drake May killed, and I know that that's what Vrabel and this team is going to be looking at over the next couple of years to solidify and get him a solid offensive line. But, it would have been nice to do something. Now, obviously, to get a good backup or a good offensive lineman at the trade deadline is next to impossible in terms of the price, the fact that not many guys are available. So I'm not saying that they should have. I mean, could have, but I doubt it. Needless to say, the offseason and the draft are going to be where they fix that O-line. No two ways about it. So get ready for more first-round offensive linemen, guys. And then the last is the injuries. They get an F. The injuries get an F. Why? Booty left with a hamstring. Gonzalez got dinged up on that Drake London catch where London fell on top of him. And Christian Ellis left with a hip injury. Now, Booty sounds like he'll be back either this week or next week, which isn't terrible. And because next week we're playing Thursday night. So we're going to be playing on Sunday and a week from tomorrow. So it sounds like Booty's going to be either both or next Thursday's game, which isn't terrible. But Gonzalez, we all know, has an injury history. And that's something they're going to have to keep an eye on. And then Christian Ellis, what's going on with his hip? This could either be, not a terrible injury, or it could be a really bad one. And our inside linebacker core is not strong. Again, another position where we lose one guy, and all of a sudden our depth is gone. So that is an interesting point of contention to see kind of what's going to happen. Again, we've been extremely fortunate to not have any major injuries on this team. We're playing against a pretty soft schedule, but you're still getting hit. Football is football, whether you're going against the worst team or the best team. And it's not like this game on Sunday is going to get any easier. Being down in Tampa versus a pretty good Tampa team, they're going to get hit. They're going to get hit a lot. And that leads us perfectly right into our Week 10 matchup. The 7-2 New England Patriots visit Raymond James Stadium to take on the 6-2 Buccaneers. All right. So, now I got some water in me. We're going to talk about the positional comparisons. And this was a tough one because I am a massive Baker Mayfield fan. I've been a massive Baker Mayfield fan since his days at Oklahoma, when everyone was hating on him because he was grabbing his junk, he was, disrespecting the fans and this, that, and the other. I looked at it as the complete opposite. I was saying that, when he played against Kansas, when he had multiple moments against Kansas in terms of disrespect. It all started because Baker Mayfield was one of the captains. He went out on the field, stuck his hand out, and not a single Kansas captain put their hand out to shake his hand. They made it a point to not shake his hand. And that's when Baker Mayfield's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see how this is going to go. And then he went off, he balled out, killed them, and did all the extra stuff, which, hey, I look at that as more of, I don't want to say defending yourself because it's not really defending, but at the same time, they disrespected you first. And say what you want, but I thought it was fair game. I was like, oh, that's how it happened? That's why he did that? All right. You know what? Tip of the cap. Good for you, Baker. I gotcha. And then the whole flag planting against Ohio State, people are up in arms. Why? Because Ohio State fans are freaking soft. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Arthur. No, I'm just kidding. I love you, Arthur, on the Saturday morning tailgate. Arthur's an Ohio State guy, so I'm just kidding. No, but honestly, though, the fact that Ohio State and, all of college football were upset that Baker Mayfield planted a flag, and then that caused a whole stir, and everyone else was flag planting a couple of years ago, which was hilarious. Again, it's one of those, hey, you won the game, you plant your flag. That is what football is about. It's territorial. It is a type of, it is a sport that disguises war in a way because you're taking over territory in order to score a touchdown. That's how it is. But again, as I was saying, big Baker Mayfield guy. Always have been, always will be. And the fact that he went to Cleveland, he wasn't good, but it was Cleveland that sucked. And he brought Cleveland to the playoffs. So there's that. And so when it comes to comparing him or Drake May, they are coming off a bye. So May's played one extra game. So May's got 2,000 yards. Excuse me. May has 2,285 yards to Baker Mayfield's 1,919. May's completed just above 74% of his passes, whereas Mayfield has completed just below 64% of his passes. May's got 17 touchdowns to 4 picks. Mayfield has 13 TDs to 2 picks. May's got a passer rating of 116.9. Mayfield has a passer rating of 98.1. And May's got a QBR of 74. And Mayfield has got a QBR of 61.3. And let me tell you, saying May and Mayfield back-to-back like that, I was starting to get a little confused, kind of like my my situation saying January, March, February last week. Hopefully I did that right. I did. I know I did that right. So it's not like it's an easy, May's far and away better. He's the best quarterback here. I did give May the slight advantage. I did say that I would take Drake May over Baker Mayfield. But honestly, it's not by much. And the reason why is because Mayfield has been in the game a lot longer. He's a lot more proven. And even though he's not the biggest mobile quarterback, boy, is he a gutsy SOB. And when you need it, he delivers. So with May, I still took him because he has just been lights out of this world this season. And yes, did he have a bad game last week? He did. But we still got the win. And that is huge and something that you can't knock at. You can't knock at the fact that May had a bad game and we still won. So that's why I'm taking Drake May over Baker Mayfield slightly. Now, the next two positions are based on the fact of whether Bucky Irving's going to play and Chris Godwin's going to play. So if both those two guys play, I'm giving the Buccaneers the advantage at running back and wide receiver. Okay? That's what I think about their units. And if they don't play, if Bucky Irving doesn't play, I would flip that check mark over to New England. If Godwin doesn't play, they still have Igbuka, they still have Tez Johnson, but I would flip that over to New England. And then when it comes to tight ends, of course, I'm taking Hunter Henry and oh my gosh. I'm taking Hunter Henry and I want to say I am totally thinking the wrong freaking sport right now. My apologies. Austin Hooper. Oh my gosh. I'm taking Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper over Cade Otton. I can tell you that. I'm also that was funny. I'm also taking the Pats O-line versus theirs, though I do like Tristan Wirfs. And I'm taking our D-line over their D-line, even though their D-line gets after it. When I'm going to talk about the offense and defenses, they're a good team. I'm not downplaying this at all, but I think they got better linebackers than us, especially with Ellis now down and for however long. I think they got a good linebacking core, and I'm taking our secondary and special teams over theirs. So now moving on to the oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot that part. Patriots versus Buccaneers. Offense versus defense. The Patriots have 238.3 pass yards per game, which ranks 9th in the NFL, compared to the Buccaneers, who allow 228.8 pass yards per game, which ranks 22nd in the league. Now, the Patriots rush for 12.3 yards per game, which is 17th in the league, but the Buccaneers allow 92.6 rush yards per game, which is 7th in the NFL. And then the Patriots score 26.3 points per game, which ranks 7th, to the Buccaneers allowing 22.3 points per game, which is tied for 13th best in the league. And then when it comes to the Patriots defense and the Buccaneers offense, the Buccaneers offense throws for 224.9 pass yards per game, which is 13th in the NFL. But the Pats allow 223.6 pass yards per game, which is 19th. Then the Buccaneers rush for 98.1 yards per game, which is 24th in the league. But the Patriots have the best rush defense at allowing 75.4 yards per game. And then the Buccaneers score a 15th most points at 24.6 points per game. And the Patriots defense is tied for 5th, only allowing 18.8 points per game. It's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be more on the high scoring affair. I think it's going to be late 20s or low 30s. And I listen, I think the Patriots are probably going to hit another true adversary in this game. Baker Mayfield is a guy who does not say no. He does not give up. He is not that guy. And when I look at this game, I think it's going to be a tough game for New England. And that's a good thing. They need all the adversity they could get. And not for nothing, what happened on Sunday, I think can propel them into this game in a very different light. Because what I have with this team is that I think the Buccaneers are going to squeak out a 4-point victory, winning 31-27 in Raymond James Stadium. I do. But what I didn't take into account was when you're riding high and you're winning week after week after week, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you got a 6-game win streak going, You're 7-2. You have the best record in the NFL. You're tied for the best record in the NFL. You're going to face adversity. But the question is, how is that adversity going to affect you? And what it showed me on Sunday, that some people thought it was a good win, others thought it was a bad win, I thought it was a good win, was that adversity, while tough, still got you the win on Sunday. Yeah, you could argue it all came down to your former kicker missing the point after attempt to tie the game. Sure, you could argue that, which is exactly what happened, but there was more to it than that. Plays that kept leading up and leading up and leading up. Penix, the intentional grounding. That's the penalty. Penix throwing the intentional grounding, the snapper, snapping the ball early, which led to that play. These moments built up to culminate into that one play, which was the point after attempt. So because of that, you faced a lot of adversity on Sunday. And what I didn't take into account is that adversity with a win, I think, can help propel you going into this game thinking to yourself, hey, we've got this. We don't want to play like that, but we've got this. And Todd Bowles' teams coming off of bye weeks are not good. They're not good. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out. And they could get healthier. They could have Bucky Irving. They could have Chris Godwin. Both are great players. But I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that the adversity we faced on Sunday, we're going to ride that. We're going to be so pissed off that the Patriots played like that this is ridiculous. We are not that team. We need to be better, and they're going to take that energy. They're going to go into Raymond James Stadium on Sunday and just stomp on the Buccaneers' throats and say, no. We're the captain now. We are the captain now. Not a freaking layup. So I think it's going to be a fun game. I really do. It's very excited about that. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you think the Patriots are going to get the win on Sunday? Do you think it's going to be a close game, or what are your final scores? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget, follow all the social medias right along here, starting over at Instagram, X, YouTube, and also check out the Grid Network and some of their great shows as well. So moving on to the Celtics. The Boston Celtics are off to a 3-5 record, and they are currently playing right now, actually. Playing home against the Wizards. They only have a 3-point lead, but they've allowed Washington just 4 points in the entire second quarter. But before this game, they're 3-5. The worst record since 2021-2022 season. Okay? Now, when you look at the game against Utah, everyone wants to talk, and Jaylen Brown himself too, rightfully so, bitched and complained about the no call on his tripping with just under a minute to go in the game. Now, as I said earlier, when it came down to that point after attempt, there are a lot more plays that lead up to moments like that happen prior that highlight the importance of that late game no trip call. Because he clearly got tripped. He bitched about it after the game. Even the NBA, when they do their next day review, they said, yeah, the referees missed the call there. And with the NBA and the whole freaking betting scandal that's going on with them, maybe there was a little, chunk of change on that game, which is why the NBA as a product sucks. But I do love the sport of basketball. We'll say that. Love the sport of basketball. NBA product, not so good. Regardless, yeah, I thought Jaylen Brown had every right because that was ridiculous. But again, when you're looking at that game, they were 11 for 51 from three on 89% shooting. 89% on 89 field goal attempts. Over half of your shots were taken via, behind the 3-point line, which is absurd. I even tweeted about this, Monday night. I go, this team is difficult to watch. 51 3-point attempts on 89 field goal attempts. Shot 21% from three, but 68% from the paint against a very tall Jazz team. So it's not like the Jazz are a bunch of short guys where you could shoot over them when you get in the paint. No, they had a bunch of 6'11", 7-footers, and just over 7-footers. So my thing is, to all the nerds, why do you insist on shooting threes when going to the paint equals a higher percentage shot? Make it make sense. Because that's the mind-boggling effect that I don't understand. And partially I refuse to understand, but it's not how you play this sport. It's not how you play this game. And to illustrate my point, some of the stats out there in the NBA is just absurd. And I don't mean the stats themselves are absurd. I mean the numbers where the Celtics land on those is absurd. Look at this. I call this the modern basketball failure. The 2025 offensive ratings for the Celtics. They are 28th out of 30th in points scored, 29th in points in the paint. They are 30th, meaning dead last, on assists, though they are number one on 3-point attempts per game. Shocking. They are 29th on 3-point percentage. They are 27th on effective field goal percentage. True shooting percentage, they're 28th. In the pace of their game, they are dead last in the NBA. That is atrocious. And again, I hate to be beating the same freaking drum over and over and over and over and over again. But there's just new ways of talking about it, really, including those statistics. And my thought is, does Joe Mazzulla realize, does Joe Mazzulla in the Boston Celtics organization realize that the roster is completely different than it has been the last 2 years? That there's no Tatum, there's no Porzingis, there's no Holiday, there's no Horford, there's no Luke Cornett. Like, the roster is not the same. And they're still trying to play like they have all these guys. Like they can have a 7-footer just hang back behind the three, and while Tatum or Brown drives to the hole, gets the 2-on-1 that Joe Mazzulla loves so much, they can dish out to a wide-open Porzingis who can drill the three, because they pulled the power forward or the center in on that Brown drive. It's not. They can't do that. Excuse me. And I mean, another bad part of their team is that their defense, their rebounding is horrendous. Their defensive rebounding percentage, they are next to last at 29th. So, of course, they're not getting it done shooting. They're not getting it done on the glass. And especially if you're not getting it done on the glass, you have no hope for winning. It's that easy. You have no hope for winning if you can't get rebounds, let alone defensive rebounds. And we knew going into this year that this Celtics team was small, that this Celtics team was tiny. Tiny, you know what I mean. But they are in a load of trouble right now because they're not getting rebounds, they're not hitting their shots. And it's funny because Scal against Utah, was like, he doesn't remember a shooting night like this. And it's like, really? You don't? First, multiple games of the season, we've shot like this. But if you really want to hone in on that, let's go back to game 1 and 2 of the Knicks series. Because, yeah, you have the summer break, but in terms of it being so close together, it's 15 games out that the Celtics had multiple 20-point leads or had a 20-point lead plus in games 1 and 2 and subsequently blew it in the third quarter because all they did was post up 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 because for some GD reason, this team does not understand how to shoot mid-range. This team does not understand that shooting 21% from 3 going on 51 3-point attempts is not going to win you games. And that they're going to constantly be like, oh, we had wide open shots. We had open shots. We had this, that, and the other. And it's like, yeah, but you're still not hitting the freaking shot. So stop. Drive to the hole. Do something because, as I said in that tweet, you shot 68% from the paint against a very tall Jazz team. And you're going to sit there and be like, oh, well, hey, look, we had out of those 51, 3-point attempts, we had 40 of them were wide open or open. The law of averages is not to be used literally, which is what we are doing, which is what the Celtics are doing. They're taking the law of averages and applying it like it actually means something. It doesn't. It's a freaking BS number. Because when it comes to sports, while you could argue most games are rigged, fine, so be it. I'm not going to go down that route. But in most sports, you have something that's called momentum. You have something that's called riding the wave. You're going to have games where you're hot. You're going to have games where you're cold. You can't use numbers and make that make sense. You can't. It's unquantifiable, which is why all you analytics nerds out there, and most of you probably don't follow this show because you know how much I just disdain nerdom. Nerd! Thank you, Ogre. It doesn't work. You can't quantify momentum. You can't quantify hot and cold because in your mind, when you're cold, you're like, oh yeah, well, the law of averages says that we're shooting, 15% from 3 in this half. By the second half, we're going to shoot 45% to equal out to get back to our average, which is 30%. Stuff like that doesn't happen. Not in sports. And if it does, it's not because the law of averages. It's because either the other teams dealt with something or you just went hot. It's that simple. Stop trying to use numbers to make things make sense. In sports, that doesn't happen. You can't. How many times do I have to say this? And I get it. I think Joe Mazzulla's a funny guy. I think he's a good dude. I listen to him talk on, Beetle and Zoe every week. He seems like a funny guy, a good guy. But the analytics, Joe, don't work. So stop making them. Or stop trying to make them. It doesn't work. I mean, Good example. Sean Grandy tweeted this out saying there have been 445 games in NBA history in which a team took 50 or more three-pointers. The Celtics, shooting 21.6% on Monday, was the worst shooting percentage of any of those 445. This product that Joe Mazzulla and the NBA, because the NBA is all about the three-pointers, not so much maybe that the Celtics are, but the game is turned into basically the game is turned into no ball movement, or if there is, it's drive to the hole to dish out to the wide open three. Getting open shots does not necessarily mean you get good shots. This is why I say that the NBA product of today sucks. And I am not talking about the alleged scandal that could possibly destroy the NBA. And as I've said before, and I truly mean this, I love the sport of basketball. I love the Boston Celtics. It's just how they have morphed this game, kind of like baseball in a way, but different. They have morphed this game into just this bad product. It's not entertaining. It's not fun. And it's no surprise to me that Game 7 of the World Series this year did much, much better viewership than Game 7 of the NBA Finals last year. I honestly, I am not surprised in the least when it comes to that. So, all right, that's my rant for the night. But to move on to the Bruins, because we got to talk about the Bees. They are doing something that I was not prepared for. Because as I talked about last week, you had Marco Sturm say the team isn't bought in. And I went in on that. And I took it a step further to say that this team is just not that good. And you had trade rumors for Pavel Zacha, along with a few other guys just swirling around, kind of like sharks circling its bait, just waiting to pounce, waiting to attack. That was going on with the Bruins last week. And now we find ourselves with the Bees winning 4 straight. They've won 5 of their last 6. Hampus Lindholm has returned and has changed everything. And they're playing halfway decently right now. I mean, that win last night against the Islanders, I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, damn, look at these guys. They wanted it. Now, there were still some things to clean up on, I thought, defensively, but they wanted it. When they were down, so they were down at every single point in that game last night. They were down 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, and each time they came back to tie it up. When they were down 3-2, the fight in them over that 1.5 to 2 minute span where it was nonstop action. When the puck, when they were in the red zone, they were in the offensive zone for most of that 1.5 to 2 minutes. And when the puck left the blue line, it didn't leave the blue line long. They were able to retrieve it, shoot back in, and just create pressure on top of pressure on top of pressure to Sorokin before he finally cracked. And he was just out of the crease. And Kuznetsov, I think is how you say his name, was able to tie it up. And then, of course, he gets the game winner in the shootout. But it was fun. It was entertaining. And as I said at the beginning, or as I said last week, while I said that this team is not good, I also was not going to give up on them. because they can still play. They can still make a run. And so much so that they are third in the Atlantic Division right now, which is massive because that would mean they're not in the wild card. Surprise, surprise. And last week, they were dead last. Now they're third in the Atlantic Division and just outside the wild card. So, hey, we could very well have a hockey season. We could very well have a lot of ebbs and flows to this season. It is an 82-game schedule. But what I saw last night was a lot of fun. And a team with grit. And a team with heart. So, maybe it took them a week. Maybe they did buy in. Maybe they were listening to this podcast and were like, screw that guy. We're going to prove him different. And to that I say, you're welcome. So, all right. Well, I do want to thank you guys for tuning in. Got a little bit of a later start than usual, but hey, you tuned in, you showed up, you commented. I really appreciate you guys. It's a lot of fun. I love talking Boston sports. And, for the Boston Sports Summit, I am your host, Tim Barnett, presented by the Grid Network. And, man, we're going to have a fun couple of games coming up. So, we got the Bucs on Sunday. We got the Jets, automatic win, on Thursday. And it's going to be a fun one. So, thank you guys once again for tuning in. We will be back next Wednesday to recap the Bucs, prepare for the Jets. And, hey, let's go Pats, baby. It's going to be a fun one. We got the Bees, we got the Celtics on. And before we head off, the Celtics have a 70-60 lead at half. All right, 10-point lead at the half. We're going to end on a high note, and that's what we're doing. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you all sticking around. God bless. Have a great rest of your week.